after DNFing in 2023, one of the things that I did immediately was I stopped using Strava, and quickly after that, I stopped wearing a watch. And so I haven't tracked any of my mileage for like over a year.
Welcome to the Endurance Studio Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Turner. I'm an avid ultra-endurance cyclist, bikepacker, and runner, and I'm on a journey to learn and share everything I can about how people can push beyond their limits. This podcast will explore all aspects of endurance through conversations with people I find unique and interesting. There's always an amazing story of accomplishment and failure, and always something to learn. I run this podcast from an off-grid mobile studio I've created so I can travel to the guests and have authentic, in-person conversations, because I believe in the importance and power of face-to-face conversations. Thank you for watching and listening. This episode is brought to you by Squirrel's Nut Butter. Who doesn't need a little extra lube in their life? They make adventure lube. It's the best in the business. I use the saddle butter for riding and the anti-chafe for ultra running. It's all natural ingredients, sustainable packaging, and it's locally manufactured here in Flagstaff, Arizona. And go check out episode number 4 with Chris Thornley. He's the owner and operator of Squirrel's Nut Butter. He's an amazing human, and he's got some really great stories on that podcast. So check him out. You can use my unique promo code, Endurance15, for 15% off any of their products online at squirrelsnutbutter.com, or you can click the link in the description, and it will automatically be applied to your shopping cart. So please use that code. Go buy from them. Let them know that their support of this podcast is paying off for them, and spread that lube love. squirrelsnutbutter.com. I wanted to let you know a few different ways that you can support this podcast. Of course, you can like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Tell other people about it. Tell your friends and family. If you think these conversations I'm having are valuable as I think they are, share it, send it out, ask them to subscribe. That would be amazing. That's a free way that you can support. Another way you can support is by financially support is by becoming a member on either YouTube or Spotify. Those links are always in the description of all the videos. And YouTube members do get some extra perks like member shoutouts during the podcast, priority reply to comments, and best of all, you get early access to new videos that I'm releasing. You can also, if you don't want to sign up for a recurring membership, you can also show me your support by sending a one-time gift using what YouTube calls the Super Thanks feature. So when you're watching a video, down at the bottom, there's the little buttons, the thumbs up, thumbs down button. And right next to that, there is a heart with a little dollar sign in the middle, and it says thanks next to it. That is the Super Thanks button. So if you click that, it'll allow you to give a one-time gift, financial gift of your choice. And it's just incredible. Like seeing the support that I've gotten so far from both members and from Super Thanks is just amazing, and it is definitely allowing me to keep this thing rolling down the tracks. And a quick shout out to the newest YouTube member, LR Knoll 11. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Today I have something very special for you. My first power couple on the podcast. They both recently completed the Cocodona 250-mile running race. And if you've been living under a rock and don't know about this race, it's 250 miles, starts in Black Canyon City, Arizona, and ends in Flagstaff, Arizona, with an estimated cumulative gain of over 40,000 feet. It's a beast of a race, and it has set the new gold standard for super ultra endurance races. I don't even know if that's a category, but I made that up. There's a whole nother level called super ultra endurance races. My guests today have become all too familiar with this event and have lived to tell about it. I'd like to welcome to the podcast Austin Corbett and Carrie Henderson. Congratulations to both of you.
Thanks.
Amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So it's been 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Like a month.
A month now?
About a month since the race start. Yeah.
And so I have your times here that I pulled off of, not off of Track Leaders, because Track Leaders is like a little bit behind.
We
Yeah.
should have them memorized and tattooed to our arms.
Yeah, I know.
What's-
83, 37, 41.
Wow, you
I don't know the
it?
seconds.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
guess.
3 days, 11 hours, and 37 minutes.
Sure.
Sounds right.
If that's 83 hours.
And
yeah.
Austin, 3 days, 20 hours, and 29 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
I mean, that's incredible. Like, just incredible. And so, take me through. I want to know, like, when you both decided to do it. Was there a moment that, because I know you have some history with Cocodona, and I want to go into that too, but like, when did you decide to jump in, and what was that conversation like?
I know mine, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I've been wanting to do it for years. I'd started the first year of the race. I helped film some of the live stream going up Eldon, and like in the middle of the night, which was kind of a cool experience. And then the next year, her first year running it, I paced and crewed her. We like just started dating, and then the next year crewed for her and paced as well. And then I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I've just been wanting to do it, and so I think I don't know who decided
Okay,
first.
the first
though,
time
to
Austin,
go.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yes.
Here's the hot goss. No, the first time he mentioned wanting to do it. So the second year I ran it, I DNF'd, and that next week we were like out on a hike. I think it was like kind of for your birthday, like we were just like doing something fun. And he mentioned wanting to run it. And I was very salty about having just DNF'd. And I was like, are you kidding? Like we're really talking about you running this stupid race that I just DNF'd.
Was it like you're going to steal my thunder sort of thing?
Yeah, I was just really upset about having DNF'd. And then you were like,
well, the thing is,
I want to run it next
my friend
year.
Morgan was asking me, like, he had signed up like right during when they launched registration during the race, and then he was like, oh, you should do it. And then I think I brought that up. I was like, oh, Morgan wants me to run Cocodona.
Like, give me a little more time to wallow in self-pity before you start talking about
Sorry.
signing up again.
Yeah.
it all worked out.
Yeah.
So what was the longest distance, Austin, you would run before?
I'd done a 100-miler. I ran the Javelina 100 in 2022. Yeah.
So 100 miler?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then 2 like 100Ks, and then some other shorter stuff like races. But
okay.
Yeah.
And Carrie, so let's back up to your previous Cocodonas.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be your third time.
Yeah.
The first time you finished.
Yeah.
And the second time you scratched.
Right.
So yeah, bring me through the feelings after the scratch. Maybe the feelings after the first finish, and then the feelings after the second scratch.
Yeah. The first year I ran was 2022. And I had never run more than like 80 miles going into that race. I never raced more than like 50 miles. So I just went in with the goal to hopefully finish and not be super miserable. So I had like pretty low expectations, and it went really well. I like felt pretty good the entire time and just had fun and like felt amazing afterwards. And then the second year, so after I finished in 2022, I'm sure during the race, I was like, yeah, this is a one and done. Like, I'm having a good time, but this is hard. And like, I'm going to finish and never repeat it. And then probably within the next week, I was like, I'm really proud of myself, but I think I could have gone a little faster. Like, I think I could have been a little more competitive with it. And so then I signed up in 2023, kind of with that goal in mind of like trying to push harder, be more competitive, do better, which I think I didn't really think through. What did that mean to me? Like, I had like very superficial goals of wanting to like place a little bit higher or run faster. And then during the 2023 race, I mean, there were a couple of things. Like, I didn't sleep the night before. That wasn't super helpful.
Okay.
And then
because of nerves, or were there other?
Probably. And then it was really hot. We were staying at his parents' house, and it was really hot. And I have a hard time sleeping in general, I think.
Yeah.
But
it was just disturbed sleep. Like, okay, not in your own
slept
bed.
for like 20 minutes or something. And
great.
So
you got sleep deprivation going into a race that requires sleep deprivation.
Exactly.
Cool.
And and so then I think like, halfway through when I was like coming into Jerome, I was like one place further back than what I had finished the year before. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I thought I was going to be, doing better, like up there further. And I just really let those negative thoughts like control my mind, I think. And I just had this feeling of like, I'm not doing very well. Like I thought, like I'm not doing as well as I wanted to. And I just really let that take over. And I think most people that run Cocodona know like it's largely mental. And so if you have a bad attitude, like you're not going to have fun out there. Like it's not the most enjoyable course in the world. And like it's really hard. It's like, all sorts of things. So if you have a bad attitude, like it's just going to get worse. It's not going to serve you. So I DNF'd and like immediately regretted it. And I don't race a lot, so I didn't have any experience with DNFing, and I didn't know how it would make me feel. In the moment, I thought I wouldn't care, and I definitely cared. So that was a big motivator for this year. I kind of knew going into the race, like, okay, you know what it feels like to finish, and you know what it feels like to not finish. And so, like, if I had any moments of doubt, which I didn't, but going into the race, I was like, if you have any moments of doubt, you know which feeling you want to end up with. So yeah, it made me feel very confident that I was going to finish this year and just have a better mindset throughout.
So what were, when you did scratch and the weeks after, what were if you could like describe the emotions, or was it like failure?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like failure to yourself?
Yeah. And just like, failure, kind of like embarrassment. It's like you have, Cocodona is such like a big thing in our town. So like everyone knew I was running it. Then everyone knows that you DNF'd. And like, I also like, I respect when people do what's best for them. And if your body is like not working out there and you are risking doing some type of like medium or long-term damage, like people need to DNF sometimes. And I feel like that wasn't where I was. Like my body was good. Like my feet were fine. All those things were fine. It was just like my mind that I like couldn't turn around. So, it was just kind of like hard to look back and realize like if I would have made different decisions in the moment, if also like I was like making decisions with a sleep deprived brain.
Sure.
So wasn't maybe thinking straight, or, like I was thinking with my emotions more than my logic. And so, it was just kind of like hard realizing like, I know I could have finished. I would have been fine if I would have pushed through. So just kind of that like Monday morning quarterbacking.
What part of the course did you scratch on? Like
in Jerome.
Jerome was the final straw for you.
Yeah.
At that point, on that year. Yeah. Yeah. Did the Mingus? Mingus is like legendary for bike packers, runners, Cocodona people. I mean, Mingus is like lives in this like magical place of difficult and strain and hardship, and it just like crushes people's souls. Yeah. It seems for some reason, because it just kind of comes out of nowhere. It's like Cottonwood's very low and you don't think it's that high, and I don't know, it's just kind of a wild mountain in the middle of nowhere, right? And it's expansive, right? Did that have any like?
I didn't enjoy the descent off of
Okay.
Mingus.
I've heard about Jessica described that descent in great detail.
I think I spent that entire descent trying to convince my friend Emma, who was pacing me, that I should drop. She was like trying really, really hard to convince me otherwise, but eventually she caved. I'm like very persuasive. So,
well, I think I was pacing her from Whiskey Row to Fain Ranch, and I thought she might drop at Fain Ranch that year. Like she was so miserable. Even at that point, she then made it another however many more miles, from
Fain up.
Yeah, all the way up and over
up
into
to
Jerome.
Camp.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was a different experience the second year. And the first year I was really lucky to spend the entire first day before Pacers with two girls from Canada who were racing, and they're amazing. And we just had a lot of fun. Like it didn't feel like we were in the race. We were just talking and like bonding and laughing. And then last year I tried to find that with other runners on the course, and I just like wasn't really finding it. And I was like, man, like I'm a very social runner. Like I like talking to people while I'm running. And so I think that was hard for me too. Just again, like the mindset. Yeah. But I learned from it. Learned how important like the positive attitude truly is.
Yeah, so I can really relate to this because I scratched the Arizona Trail 800, and I almost overhyped it, and then these feelings. It's hard to describe exactly what it is. It is embarrassment, or I don't know. I was upset with myself. I just wish I would have given myself a little more time before I made that decision. I have a tendency to like rush into decision making. Like I'm out,
Right.
I'm done. I'm back in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like with these things, I'm finding that like I just need to give myself an hour without making any decisions.
Yeah.
Because like that hour can like dramatically change how you feel.
Yeah.
You get some food in you, you get some salt in you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you're like, I could keep going. I can at least go to that next spot.
Yeah.
Right. That like chunk it out. Let me get into that next, whatever, get to Jerome or get to Sedona or get to the next like waypoint,
Yeah.
So then she was living in her misery and you decided you were going to do it. And then did you come back around and say like, I'm doing it too.
And now I'm going to beat your ass. Just kidding.
Well, hey, yeah, she did. No, I mean,
and then she crushed you.
Yeah, exactly. So
that was my motivation this year. I'm just joking. It wasn't.
No.
It seemed that way.
No, it was more of like, like I said, my friend signed up and he was like, oh, you should do it. And it was like, yeah, I'd love to, but I don't know. I mean, like, it was just sort of so far out. I mean, it was like almost a year out. I was like, I don't know. Like, it just seemed so kind of pie in the sky, but I don't know. I think just as it got closer, I got more excited about it. It was just like, seemed more, doable. And yeah, I don't know. Eventually it just kind of, it came together.
So when you finished your 100, that was one straight through with no sleep.
Yeah, that was heavily in 100, so it's pretty flat.
Yeah.
I ran it in like just under 22 hours.
Right.
So it's like,
So you're now transitioning from one waking effort to like a multi-day where you now have these new factors of sleep and trying to eat and trying to keep food down. And I mean, that's a whole different thing. And Carrie, you went from a 50, right? To a 250.
Yeah.
So that's even wilder.
Yeah.
To do that your first year.
Mm-hmm.
What was your training like before this most recent Cocodona? What was your training like, each of your trainings leading up to it? Was it structured or unstructured? Or tell me about that.
Mine was really unstructured. So after DNFing in 2023, one of the things that I did immediately was I stopped using Strava, and quickly after that I stopped wearing a watch. And so I haven't tracked any of my mileage for like over a year. And so like when I decided to sign up for Cocodona, and I decided at dinner in Silverton, we were having dinner with the race director, Steve, who's a friend, and he more or less like convinced me to do it again and made a little deal with me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. So, he convinced me to try it again. And, so when I started training, I knew I wasn't going to track any mileage, and, I got in the canyon a lot, and like, that was kind of it. Okay. Last year as well, training for the 2023 race, that's when we had the really hard winter here. And it was tough running through that, like working full time and trying to like get down to dry trails to run, or, like just being miserable running roads in town in the snow and like in blizzards. So that was challenging too. So this year going into winter, I was like, if we have another hard winter, I'm not gonna stress about it. I'm just gonna be in the gym more, like lift more, do what I can, and not worry about mileage. And luckily the winter was more mild, but that is basically what I did. Like I lifted a lot, I got in the canyon a lot, and that was my training. Yeah.
That's so freeing. Like that moment where you just decided to abandon the, I don't know, being held down or being boxed in by a training schedule or by even social, like Strava is social media to a certain extent. Like I have a mixed relationship with Strava. I don't mind it too much because it's not predatory. Like Instagram, it's not like built on an advertising model. It's built on a subscription model. So like they have different priorities on how they need to capture your attention. However, it's still a tool that stacks you up against other people. You see, you can kind of get the keeping up with the Joneses phenomenon on it a lot, which could be good. It's good because it's like exercise. So it's like not a bad thing, but mentally, I think sometimes that's maybe not a good thing.
I think it just disconnects you from your body. Like, I think it's easy to, see what other people are doing and then think like, oh, I'm not doing as much.
Right.
Like I should be, and not thinking about like, well, how do I feel? Like, do I feel good? And maybe I can push it this week and do more miles, or am I feeling fatigued? And I think another reason I stopped tracking mileage is I realized in the last like year or so that like I have a lot of stress in my life from like other things. And like, why would I add one more thing that's causing me stress? You know, it's just like one thing to eliminate that I don't need to be doing. So I enjoyed it a lot. I'll never go back to the watch life.
Really?
Yeah.
I crashed my bike last weekend on a ride and I busted my watch.
Oh no.
And I was like, is this my moment
Yeah.
to be free?
I did like having the watch tan. Like that's a flex. So I am bummed that I don't have that anymore.
That's part of the look.
Yeah.
Yeah, the watch tan. That's hilarious. So Austin, your training was structured, unstructured?
I wouldn't really say structured. I mean, there was like a moment I think where I like bought like a paper calendar and I was like, oh, I'm gonna write down all my runs so I can like, you know, because I think sometimes that can be good for me, like to just know like, all right, today this is what I need to do. It takes out a little bit of like the trying to figure out what to do every day and that stress. And I think it lasted like a week, and then I was like, this is too stressful because it was
hanging
just
up in the office.
It is still, and I was like 1 week of runs that I wrote down on it, and that was it. Because I think it was just like just life stresses, other stuff was going on, and it was just putting so much extra pressure of like, well, this is on my calendar, I have to do this today, and if I like, and I was just like pulling my hair out, like trying to get that done, and then I was like, you know what, I can't do this. I was like, I just got to do what I can, and I think
he was doing like a lot of doubles. That's one thing you were doing a lot, like running in the morning, and
like just running twice a day. Like I would like get up early, like run like 8 miles in the morning, and then get off work and run another like 4 miles after work.
Okay.
I was doing that a lot just to be able to like get the volume that I wanted.
Right.
And like my job's pretty flexible, but like, you know, still kind of got to be there like 9 to 5. So, you know, that was just kind of squeezing in as much wherever I could around life, which obviously I think that's like, you know, important to, you know, for any just runner, average runner, that it's like, that's what you have to do. And again, back to the Strava thing, it's like, it's so easy to see these like people that, especially in Flagstaff, it's like, oh, well, this person's a professional runner. Like, of course they run like 100+ miles a week because that's their job, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's like, you kind of gotta, you know, you can't let that affect you as a person who isn't a full-time runner. You just gotta accept that you just gotta get in when you can. So yeah, I was doing that a lot during the week, and then just on the weekends, like a lot of like back-to-back long runs, but no structure. I don't have a coach. I mean, I use Strava, but I mean, I just kind of like to be able to track my mileage, to be able to see what I'm doing and how much climbing I'm getting and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of just long runs would just be sort of whatever sounded fun. Like, yeah, we try to get in the canyon. We went to Tucson one weekend and did like a kind of training weekend there, which was fun, visiting a friend too. So
how do you both feel about elevation? Are you like vertical gain training? Like, do you go run verticals like you know, up Eldon, or do you do that a lot, or do you enjoy that? Or do you hate it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy it. I don't know. I feel like for this, I wasn't like making a priority.
Okay.
Because I mean, ultimately, Cocodona is pretty runnable actually in the scheme of things. I mean, there's, you know, 100-milers that are like as much climbing as Cocodona, you know.
Okay.
Not that many, but you know,
it's like 60,000.
I think it's like 40.
Oh,
that's
really?
That's what it says on the website. I think it's around 40.
Yeah, that's
so yeah, really, like, especially once you get to Flagstaff, like if you look at the elevation profile, it like really flattens out, and there's just like a little bumps until Eldon, but it's pretty runnable. So it's just like that first half is pretty rough. It's just more of, I think, the like terrain is just really rugged. Yeah. You know.
But I think like, yeah, for me, like I don't track mileage, so I obviously don't track vert. I didn't do anything like intentionally, but I think fun runs for me do tend to be more climby, like the canyon.
Yeah.
You know, anytime you go down the canyon, you're climbing at least 5,000 feet out. So I got a lot of climbing in my legs from that. I think between like the start of the year and Cocodona, I think I got in a canyon like 14 times. And like a lot of those were like 30+ mile days, or like off trail or like backcountry trail, like just long days on feet. So that helped my climbing legs a lot. And we actually found, like, we did a run in Joshua Tree, like a 40-mile run, and it was super runnable, and like that was so hard. So like I think for me, like, I'm not a fast runner. I like being able to hike and like get a hike break. So when I have to run, like, some, you know, do something runnable for a whole day, that's tough.
Yeah, that's really not our jam. Yeah, we did the Joshua Tree Traverse in Joshua Tree, and it's like, it's a great route, but yeah, it was so runnable, and we were just like falling apart by the end of it. Like, what? This is so ridiculous. Like,
it was like
there
so
was like
easy.
3,000 or I don't know what, like 5,000 feet of climbing, maybe even probably less than that. It was just like we were just falling apart, and we're like, this is hilarious. Like, this is so runnable. Like, the trails were awesome, like super buffed out. So it's just not really our jam. But
I've done long gravel rides, like 24-hour gravel rides, and I get to like the 22nd or 20th hour of something, and it's a place I know. I've done the loop many times fresh, and I'm just like, what? How am I off my bike? I'm on a 20-pound bike. How the hell am I off my bike? And how can I not pedal up this? I have nothing on my bike. And I'm like very good at hike-a-bike. Like that's my expertise, I like to say, in biking, right? That was like my one KOM was hiking my bike up something. Right? So I feel you on that, because like I love the variety, right? Of like riding and then getting off and hiking and then doing, you know, standing and pedaling and sitting and pedaling and constantly moving around, and then running. Like, I'm just dabbling into running, so I haven't had enough long-term experience to know the difference. And I think I did a 56-mile run was my longest. And I had to start to vary like my pacing. I had to go to hiking. My calves were on fire, my feet were on fire. I had to figure out how to like start to manage different step differently, so that I could kind of like distribute that that load out onto different parts of my legs. You know, on a bike it's way easier. There's so many different positions on a bike. So running, it seems like you have like the hike, like you have hiking, there's like run, trotting, and walking or something, you know, like a horse. Like the three different methods. So so like on Cocodona, did you do a lot of hiking when you could have run, or did you end up running a lot of it, or was it kind of like a mixed pacing?
I think probably everyone, like even Jeff Browning, probably like hikes the uphills, you know. I probably hiked every uphill. And I ran a lot this year, though. I think I ran a lot more, like a bigger percentage than what I did in 2022. I rarely was walking if it was runnable. There was one forest road section from the top of the Schnebly, so Schnebly Hill, the top of the Kasner Canyon climb to Munns Park. It's all forest road. And the first part of it is uphill, for sure. And then it kind of gets rolling as you come into Munns Park. It's definitely still a decent amount of uphill, but there's runnable parts. And I think that was the hardest part for me, to force myself to run even when it was runnable. And there were times where like I was jogging, shuffling, whatever, and my pacer would just start walking, and we were like going the exact same pace. So like that was I think the hardest part for me, to like get myself to run at a good clip. Like the rest of the race, I feel like I was actually moving pretty good.
Well, that's a tough part in that section specifically. There was like, I remember asking my pacer, like, I mean, it was like middle of the night for me, and that was, you know, probably close to 200 miles in or something like that. And I had to ask my pacer, was like, is this uphill? Like, I couldn't tell, you know, because it's like just barely uphill, but it's like at that point, it's like running up that is like hard. And then like she was saying, it's like I'd do that too. I'd be like running, and then I'd look down, and I'm like, oh, I'm like running like 16-minute pace. Like, I might as well just hike, you know. Like, it's not really a point of
it seems like hiking's more efficient in a lot of circumstances.
Exactly.
Like,
I think if you're hiking with intention, like it's easy, and that's something I actually kind of tried to do during training this year, because like I can be really lazy hiking. Like when I transition from running to hiking, I'll just like slow down, and then all of a sudden I realize that I'm doing like a 25-minute mile, because I'm just like being lazy and like
Yeah.
looking around. So I was trying to be more intentional with like that transition from running to hiking, and like hiking, like speed hiking, like hiking fast, like kind of like hands on legs,
Mhm.
like, so
Yeah.
I think I maybe did that during the race. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
Well, I think that's kind of a cool part about Cocodona is that like you don't have to be the best runner. Like there's like through hikers that have done it that have like crushed it because they're just so good at hiking.
Right.
And so much of it is really hiking that like it's kind of like an equalizer in my mind of like, just because you're not like the fastest runner, like doesn't mean that you can't do well at this race, because if you're just like efficient and you fuel well, and you don't waste a lot of time and you just
Don't
move
sleep.
really. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's such a factor.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that's something for me that I feel like looking back, I'm like, I wasted a lot of time just in aid stations and kind of dicking around. But I mean, I don't know. I was like learning even as the race went on. I was figuring out how to be more efficient. So
Totally.
yeah.
And I've said this a few times. I think that endurance sports in general are just such a great like equalizer, because there's so many other factors than just physical fitness.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
There's all this stuff, and it's so cool to see. It's like a gender equalizer and an age equalizer and just all these things, because there's so many factors you can get good at. And so like I wasn't that good at biking when I first got into endurance, but I was like, I think I can get good at resupply, and I think I can get more efficient with my camp setup. And I think that in self-supported bike packing, I think I have an advantage in my packing process, and I'm very like systematic when it comes to redundancy and making sure that so something's not going to take me out because I didn't pack an extra battery for my light, for example, or something like that. Right. There's all those like logistical factors, right, in both in any kind of endurance sports. Like, so in Cocodona, you have like the whole lighting thing to make sure you have pacers, and so like that's a level of redundancy that's kind of built into it, right? But some of the places you didn't have pacers, like, but you didn't pick up a pacer until Whiskey Row, right? So you have that whole first night. I'm not sure what time it was for both of you. When did
we
you
were
get into
together
Whiskey Row?
until Whiskey Row. We got in at like 3 a.m. or something like that, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, somewhere around there. I think the sun.
3:30
Yeah. I think the sun might have been just coming up. I don't know. But yeah.
No, because
Oh, no, it's because I stopped. Yeah, and slept.
So yeah, let's talk about sleep.
Yeah.
So because everybody wants to know about like sleep and sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
And, like, so where was your first like maybe not trail nap, or where was your first trail nap, and then maybe where was your first like real sleep? At what point for each of you?
Well, I had heard that it was smart to try to sleep kind of preventatively, like in the first 24 hours or so.
Okay.
So I decided to sleep at Whiskey Row. I think I only slept actually half an hour, but that was an example of wasting a lot of time. I feel like it took so much time to like get in a cot and like get ready, and then it was like quick sleep, and then but I did feel amazing leaving Whiskey Row and was like crushed that next section. But so that was like, first sleep was there, just quick 30 minutes. The first like full like real sleep was more at Mingus Mountain, where
I saw you up there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you saw. And
you had just emerged from
Yeah.
your
Saw the
slumber.
carnage.
Yeah, and you
That
were
was-
like off and gone
she was
by
probably
then.
like in Jerome by now by that point or
Yeah.
something. But yeah, no, I just had a really rough section from Fane Ranch to Mingus and was just like in really rough shape. Like, I think my parents were crewing me, and I think they were a little concerned. They're like, "Whoa, like, how you doing, buddy?"
Yeah.
And then one of my friends told me I got there and just had this like 1,000-yard stare. That was just like. So, anyways, I was pretty wrecked there and decided to sleep. Which they have sleep stations at a lot of the aid stations, which is nice. So they had like there was like a bunk with like a actual like mattress pad, and I just had like a sleeping bag. But slept there for like an hour and a half, and then I won't go through all my sleeping, but then after that, I think I had a long push to Sedona. But then kind of, I think slept at Sedona again, and from there slept kind of more frequently. But I think the longest I slept was like an hour and a half at one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that a Mingus?
Yeah, I think Sedona I slept about an hour and a half as well. Yeah. Because I had a pretty long push from Mingus to Sedona, which was really good. And then right before Sedona, I kind of fell apart. And I was kind of described it as like that I'd sleep and I'd feel really good, like my battery's recharged, and then it's like eventually I just kind of get low battery and I just kind of just like fade at some point, and then I'd need to sleep again. But it was pretty amazing how even like an hour and a half or even an hour could like totally rejuvenate you and you feel so much better. So
Yeah. How about your sleep situation?
I slept for the first time in Jerome. And so that was,
Whoa.
my intention, because so in 2022, similarly, I'd like heard on a podcast that it's good to sleep early. So I tried the first year I ran to sleep at Mingus in that sleep station. Couldn't fall asleep. I was like cold, and even though it was the middle of the day and like uncomfortable. And then when I got to Jerome that year, I did sleep, but it took me a while to fall asleep. And so this year I was like, I'm just gonna wait. Like, I have a tough time sleeping, and I just figured it'd be good to like wait until I really needed it, and so I could be efficient and like fall asleep quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I slept in Jerome for an hour, and then gosh.
So,
so long ago.
but to
Yeah.
get to Jerome, how much time was that? So how long were you awake for?
So okay.
I'd have to look at the
36
track.
hours or something like that.
Because so we started Monday.
Monday at like 7.
So Tuesday. So I was there Tuesday night. So we started Monday morning, like 5 a.m.
Okay.
I think I got to Jerome Tuesday. It was like just after sunset. I think maybe we put our headlamps on coming into Jerome for like 10 minutes. So it was probably like,
Yeah.
I probably got in at like 8,
Okay.
maybe 8 p.m. ish. And
Yeah,
then,
30.
so I slept. So I didn't have like a crew, like a dedicated crew. I
Mhm.
had 6 pacers, and most of them had like a little sleep setup in the back of their car ready for me in case I wanted to sleep. So they'd have like a sleeping pad, sleeping bag. And so I slept in my friend Michelle's car in Jerome for an hour.
Yeah.
And then she took me to Sedona. And then when I got to the top of that Schnebley Hill climb, like that forest road I was saying that I really hated,
Yeah.
I took an 8-minute trail nap
Okay.
there. And then I didn't sleep again until Munns Park. And then I slept for an hour there. Hour and a half at Munns Park, and then that was it. So 2 hours and 38 minutes total.
In total.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And
That's
I
so
actually
wild.
felt really good. There was one time when I was with my friend Michelle. She took me from Jerome to Sedona. So it was a 36-mile stretch, I think. And we just at sunrise, we were at the Deer Pass aid station. I was just sitting in a chair and I had a blanket over me. And I was falling asleep sitting up. Like,
Mhm.
and so, I was like, we got to go because I'm going to fall asleep here. But yeah, other than that, I did not feel the urge to sleep. And like, I think once I was at Munns Park, after that sleep, what is it after that? Like
After Munns
50
Park.
miles or gosh, I don't know.
To Fort Todd Hill?
70 miles? No, to the
Oh,
end.
to the finish.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
probably something like 70. Something
Yeah,
like that,
I think
yeah.
after I slept there, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm home. I'm gonna finish this thing today. Like,
Yeah.
we're wrapping this up.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel tired at all after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. Dang. Let me check something
Yeah.
really quick. And we're back. So did you do any caffeine, either of you?
I had coffee a few times, yeah, which I didn't in 2022. I don't think I had like a sip of caffeine that year, but I had maybe 2 people bring me iced coffee,
Mhm.
2 or 3 people. So
Mhm.
yeah, I enjoyed it.
No like supplements or anything though, like no-dos or caffeine gum?
What's a no-do?
No-dos, like the pills, like the
Oh.
Oh,
Like
like
when you're
caffeine pills?
driving across the country,
Oh.
trying to redline it, and you take no-dos.
No,
Oh,
I've
never-
never
yeah, I've
heard
never
of
done that,
that.
yeah.
Oh, okay. They're like
You should try it.
200 milligrams, I think,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
per pill, which
Huh.
is like two cups of coffee.
Yeah, that's
or
pretty.
something.
Dang.
Yeah,
No.
in the form of a pill. But there's also
Yeah.
like a gum, like a caffeine gum you can
Mhm.
chew. And I've heard that for bikepacking that's has a faster effect, at least feeling, than
Oh,
the
okay.
pills.
Mm.
It's like going straight to the brain,
Yeah.
or whatever. So, so you just like natural coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just drank coffee. I mean, I'm like totally addicted to coffee. So to me, I think I might have waited for the first 24 hours because I was trying to do that because the first 100 I ran, I had waited until like the last like 20 miles of the race to drink coffee. And like, it felt like, like jet fuel. I was like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So I was like hoping to like have that experience, but also it's like so long. So I would just like grab coffee, like usually like when I'd wake up from a nap or something,
That's
like
what
pound
I
some
would have it
coffee and
when I
like, all
woke
right,
up
let's
from
go.
sleeping.
But I think my body's so used to it. I don't know if it really did that much after a while.
Yeah,
you
I think
know?
it was
It's
mental
just,
for me too. I think the 2 times that I recall having it was like after waking up from those 2 naps. And then I was like, as I was kind of getting dressed or like getting ready to go, I had like a schedule when I would sleep. Like I would eat as much as I possibly could, and while like cleaning my feet, and then I would change if I was going to change clothes, like change shorts or socks or whatever, I would do that. And I'd take my contacts out, and then I would nap, and then I'd wake up, chug a coffee while I was putting my contacts back in, and go like within like 5 or 10 minutes of waking up. So I was, I think, pretty efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I actually felt the effects of the coffee. I feel like adrenaline like is a beautiful thing and like keeps you alert, you know? So I think for me, like it was mostly adrenaline.
Did either of you have any, speaking of adrenaline, either of you have any animal run-ins of note?
I wish.
Nothing?
No,
like mountain lion perched on the corner that like really got you jacked up?
I wish. Yeah, that would've been cool.
Wish.
Yeah.
I wanted to see one so bad.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
So
no, nothing of interest. Yeah.
I saw elk. Oh, I saw pronghorn. That was cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild that there's pronghorn just roaming around.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's in a really shitty section. And like you're going through this like really unpleasant field off trail on your way into Fain Ranch. So it's like hot, just like nasty. And so my pacer, Maddie, I was like, oh, I hate this section. She was like, there might be pronghorn here though. And I was like, are you serious? And then she spotted them and pointed them out, and they're one of my favorite animals. So that was cool.
Yeah. My friend Dana calls the area kind of in between Flagstaff and the Agua Fria, so like that kind of like high desert section, he calls it Flagstaffrica because it just kind of has this like safari kind of feel to it.
Sure, yeah.
And there's like pronghorn and stuff floating around.
Yeah.
It's kind of a unique kind of in between the desert and the mountains.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
we saw an owl too when we were together the first night. It was like
that's cool.
dark, and it flew right over us.
Well,
so
we could hear it, and then it like flew over the.
It's like
yeah, and like our headlamps
predatory bird
were shining on it.
Yeah, I think I just happened to look up, and it
moment.
just like flew right across the treetops. Yeah, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think owls are like extremely silent when they compared to other birds.
Yeah,
like when they fly.
Yeah,
for predatory reasons.
For sure.
You know, like they can. So yeah, it's a big giant predatory bird.
Yeah.
Could you imagine those? Like, whenever I see birds like that, I imagine them, you know, hundreds of thousands of years ago when they were like
with the dinosaurs,
15 feet wingspan or whatever. These giant talons, you know, and I'm just like, oh god,
they just pick you up. And,
I'm so glad they're only like this big and not like pterodactyl size.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
At night.
Yeah, well, that's what's so crazy about Cocodona though, just like the terrain you go through. You know, you go from like low desert where it's like scorching hot to like 9,000 feet. You know, which I think is super cool, like and unique, and because it's Arizona, you know, you can do that. Yeah, you can see so much. You know, like I thought one of the prettiest sections was Cottonwood, like going through Dead Horse, like from Dead Horse to Deer Pass, like there were so many wildflowers and it was like gorgeous. I mean, it got kind of hot, but otherwise it was beautiful.
Yeah, there are like so many microclimates.
Yeah,
up and down and up and down, and it's really cool. And so let's go into the heat a little bit, because that's always a real point of interest for most people. Also, how did you both deal with the heat, manage the heat? Did you hit real low points during the heat?
I don't think the heat actually affects me that much. Like I don't like it.
So
like,
lucky.
Yeah, like I like
she is good in the heat.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. Like it's not fun, but I think my body handles it pretty well. Like I don't think I lose a lot of salt in my sweat. I have found just like talking to friends, you know, like I don't crave electrolytes. I don't really drink a lot of electrolytes, and I don't drink a lot of water, honestly.
Yeah, it's hilarious. We'll go out on a long day and like I have like 4 liters of water, and she's like, oh, I'll bring like 2, and like, and then I don't, you know, not even like any electrolytes, and I'm like, so
yeah, I mean,
hilarious.
I think like it doesn't bother
so
me
lucky.
that much. Yeah, and there were a few, like I think we were both like trying to be responsible. I mean, on the first day in particular, I mean, that's when the heat really gets to people. It's completely exposed. It's the hottest day, lowest elevation. And we were not pushing it. Like I thought we were like hiking strong and like efficient. There were other people that were like pushing it really, really hard and then completely died. So I'm happy that we were like a little more conservative that day. And we were trying to remember, like, if the few aid stations that there were, we were, you know, trying to get our hats wet and, you know, shirts wet and stuff like that, like sun shirts. And one time what is the requirement? You're supposed to bring like 4 liters of water on that section. And I knew for a fact I wasn't going to drink that. Like we're talking about, I don't drink that much. And so I think I poured like a liter of my water on myself during that section. One of the flasks was actually Tailwind, so that was stupid.
Oh, you poured a bunch of Tailwind mix on your head?
Yeah. On myself, so it's very sticky.
Cool. Well, it was like the naked, you know, non-flavored too, so you couldn't really tell. Yeah.
So but I forgot a few times to get wet when I should have, and for a few minutes I was like, oh shit, I forgot. Like we left the aid station, but it was okay. Overall, I wasn't too bothered, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, actually it didn't really bother me. That first section wasn't too bad. I mean, I grew up in Phoenix, so I think I do have some probably natural like heat adaptations, but I did do some like sauna training a little bit before the race, but not a ton. But no, I had like this super dorky like sun hat with the flap and stuff, and like, you know, I was trying to take it pretty seriously, like wore a sun hoodie like the entire race. But yeah, I mean, I felt pretty good most of the time. Actually, again, that one section from Fame Ranch to Mingus was, I think, actually the worst like heat for me. I think it's just, I don't know why, but it's just so exposed, and like,
it's a long stretch without aid too. Like the first day they really hype up, as they should, but they've added aid stations and a water drop. So like you actually have quite a bit of access to water that first day. And then the second day, that's far. 17 miles or something. That
first section I felt really good until the last few miles, but you were supposed to be able to get a liter from the water drop, and then somebody stole like a bunch of water from that water drop, so we were only allowed a half liter, and I was like, oh shit. I was kind of depending on that, and I was fine. Like Carrie did end up giving me like a little bit of water the last like mile or two, I think, just to like get me through, and it was fine, but I could definitely feel it coming on. So
I heard about the water thief. That's like, shit happens sometimes. Like you have to be, you know, I don't know, you have to be prepared. Like I would never do that without a water filter, just to have.
We had one too, and we just didn't use it because I think we were just trying to go through quickly, but
if you don't need to use a water filter, right? But what if all the water got stolen?
Exactly.
Totally.
That's a real liability for the race people too.
It is,
like what a pain, you know. Like and I've, you know, running Pinions and Pines, it's a lot more, it's like unsanctioned and stuff with the bikepacking race, but you get into these things where you feel responsible for people, and you're just like, and things happen, you know, and like there's closures or whatever, and you're like, crap, what do I do? And asshole people that, I don't know, during COVID.
That section too is like when I dumped the water, because I was like, I have so much, we're about to fill up a liter, I'm dumping all this on myself. And then we got there, I was like, oh dang. And I felt guilty because there were all these people around us that needed it more too, and I was like, I could have given it to them instead of just dumping Tailwind all over myself.
And we were like more towards the, you know, front of the mid pack, you know, and it's like those people in the back of the pack that were out there like way longer. I mean, that's brutal for them. Like I felt so bad. There is a creek like right there, so if you do need a filter, like, but again, like you said, if you didn't have a filter or anything, I mean,
there's probably enough concentration of people that they all could have figured it out. Somebody would have had a filter if you waited.
That's true. There was a lot of people there when we were there, so yeah.
So what about nutrition, liquid nutrition? You mentioned Tailwind, electrolytes. What's the spread of stuff that you both used? Well, you don't need anything because you're just lucky. Like, you're a lucky human. But Austin, what about you?
I use electrolytes quite a bit. I kind of rotated between like Tailwind, the Goo Roctane, just because it has like more calories, and then the gnarly nutrition stuff. I usually don't use that in training, but that's what they have at the aid stations. So if it was like an aid station where I didn't have crew, I'd just fill those up. But it depended on the section. But I usually probably have about a liter of electrolytes on me at every, you know, or between every section.
A liter when it's mixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just like 2 bottles of electrolytes, and we just kind of sip on that with water. But yeah, and then the first section we had some of those like salt stick, like chewable tablets that I bummed off her because I would need it a little bit more, but which I usually bring those as kind of backup, but mostly just use the liquid nutrition because I just like to be able to get more calories into without really having to like think about it,
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Solid foods, did you both did it work well, the things that they served at the aid stations? Did you bring other things to pack with?
Yeah, because I didn't have like a crew vehicle like I mentioned, so I packed these like snack bags for all of my pacers. So I had my own food resupply every like 20 to 35 miles, ish. It's hard to guess like what you're gonna want to eat. So I didn't eat a lot of it. So if anyone wants some snacks, like come to my house.
Yeah, we have so much left over.
So much.
Yeah, we have so
junk
much
food.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And now I like really don't want to touch it.
I've been eating like ramen for lunch just because I'm like, we need to get through this.
Yeah.
Like, just like the little cup noodles.
Yeah. I didn't do super well with food. I think for like solid food, I was eating a lot of instant mashed potatoes, some like ramen or broth. And so my main issue during the race was about halfway through, I started developing sores on my tongue. And that's like never happened to me before. And it made eating suck. Like it was really hard because and talking and I was talking the whole time. So maybe that's why they developed, but like talking and
the
chewing.
universe is like, so you can talk less now.
Yeah,
you have sores on
up.
your tongue. Pretty sure that's happened to me too. I'm a talker too, so it like annoys people. I'm sure, like I'm that one guy that people are like, okay, I gotta take a pee. See you later. You know what I mean? Because they're just so sick of me like yammering at them.
Yeah, well, my pacers knew that that's what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah, right. Mine are just innocent bystanders. You know?
But yeah, so that made eating hard, and so based on like previous experiences, I figured that first day I would want the softer food like gels and like the really soft chews because it's hard to eat solid food when it's really hot. So I kind of like loaded my first half of my bags with that kind of stuff, and then I was assuming that later on in the race it'd be easier to eat solid food, but it was like sort of the opposite, that because of these sores on my tongue it was hard to eat solid food, but that's like all I had available. So I just like forced myself. I mean, I'm not going to like not eat, you know, during a 250-mile race. So it was just unpleasant. And I would like have to take a bite of food and put water in my mouth and like just swallow it as quickly as possible. So yeah, I probably wasn't eating as much as I ordinarily would because it was very unpleasant. And from the aid stations, all I really was taking was like the peanut butter and jellies and watermelon and like here and there some snacks. But I didn't. Yeah, I ate a lot of instant mashed potatoes. And then I think one thing that helped me a lot throughout the race is every pacer I had, or every time we were able to get like a drop bag or a pacer, I had protein powder. And then my pacers all had like little shakers. So I would have a protein shake every like 20-ish miles on average. And that was like incredible, I think. Like it gave me calories, and then the protein I think was helping my muscles recover throughout the race, and my legs were honestly never sore the entire time. Like my legs felt like I was like, you know, on a 20-mile run or something. So
shout out to Tailwind Protein.
Tailwind Protein.
It's the recovery mix,
chocolate mix. Yeah, we use that a lot.
And like it goes down easy. It was good with my tongue sores. So that helped me a lot.
Yeah, that's a rice-based protein.
I
think versus a whey protein.
I think you're right.
Like I think Goo Roctane has a recovery mix, but it's whey based. So if you have like a milk sensitivity, the Tailwind is good. That's good stuff.
That helped a lot.
That's an interesting thing you're touching on there for these multi-day events, because I've definitely gotten into that like second day soreness, we call it, where you just are so sore and you're having to push through that. And I've been trying to figure out ways of managing that over time. And the protein is an interesting way of doing it. With like self-supported events, you know, there's ways to they sell those protein drinks at like gas stations and stuff and
Mhm.
resupply. There's like the little, Nesquik is like a protein type drink, right? And then they have like the actual protein drinks. So that's definitely a good tip. I've also heard magnesium. This is like total bro science, but I don't know if either of you have heard that magnesium.
I have heard that, but doesn't it also like make you tired?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it can make you drowsy too.
Really?
Don't listen to me.
I don't know anything about using it in a race,
Yeah.
but I have heard that it does help with muscle soreness though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Talk
it's like
to your
there's
doctor.
different there's different types of magnesium too. I've gotten into the science of that and gotten nerdy with it, and it's like kind of confusing. So I don't really know, but
it'd be interesting to look a little deeper into that.
Yeah.
Because that really feels like something for me that really affects me a lot,
Mhm.
The
And
soreness.
the second day soreness.
Yeah, honestly, like that's what I am attributing to like why I felt so good was the protein powder. Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
Definitely. Cool.
Yeah.
He ate a lot.
Yeah, that was actually probably one of the more successful things I think for me in the race was just eating. Like I was just chowing down on like everything, pretty much as much real food as I could get in. Like whatever like hot food they had at the aid station, like I was eating it. Like I ate like pizza, burgers, like they had like chili, mac and cheese. I'm trying to think. I mean,
Spaghetti. I know there was spaghetti.
oh yeah,
Spaghetti.
ramen. Oh, lasagna at Mingus.
Right,
Yeah, I mean,
they
it
had
was
like salad at Mingus.
Yeah.
I was even like,
I always thought
salad.
I feel like salad though. It's kind of like, does that do anything for you in an endurance event?
No,
I mean,
but it's like crispy
Guess
and
if it
green and
tastes
cold.
good, yeah.
It's not gummies.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
True.
Like for the
But-
mental boost, I would kill for a salad in the middle of some of these things. You know what I
That's
mean?
true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so yeah, I felt like really good. Like never felt like too full. Felt super good about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I kind of did the same strategy as her. Like would eat like as much as I could before I went to sleep.
Mhm.
And then that way you wake up and it's like your food has been kind of digesting. Yeah. So
Right.
but yeah, and then in between, aid stations would just eat gummies and bars and stuff like that. So which I think that was kind of nice though, because I feel like I was able to get so many calories in at the aid stations that I wouldn't need to eat all that much in between. Just because I was like, well, I just got like probably several hundred calories in. I don't really need to, I'm not gonna be hungry for a bit. So
Right.
and it was kind of nice because that stuff gets so old, eating like another thing of chews or all that, it gets so old. So
one time I just had tailwind for 2.5 days.
Oh damn.
Yeah. Bike packing because I had food poisoning.
Ooh.
Like from something I ate the day before.
Oh no.
Like the night before a race.
Oh my God.
That's
I
brutal.
got
That
like
sounds
it
awful.
wasn't like vomiting, it was the other end.
Yeah.
But it was like we started the race and then it hit me and I was like, I can't put anything in but liquid.
Man,
Oh.
that's rough.
Yeah, so
God.
like 2.5 days and then it got hot like on the second day, so it was like hot
Yeah.
whatever orange or tangerine tailwind
Oh.
on the second day. It was pretty like I was pretty like I love tailwind, but I was like pretty done with it by then. I know you got tailwind break.
Yeah, like not
Yeah.
to knock like any of those, drink mixes, but like just having the same thing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just like, or just any
Right.
like the
Yeah.
sugar on your tongue. I think
Yeah.
that's why I got the tongue sores was from the sugar.
Sure.
That's what friends told me afterwards.
Yeah.
is
Well,
that's what-
even the unflavored mix, even if that can get
Yeah.
old after a bit too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I think it did help to mix up the different flavors and stuff.
There's
and all
got to be
that,
something
but-
like biologically programmed into us to like want us to eat variety and because you're saying we get sick of one thing. If you eat
Yeah.
anything, just maybe there's a few outlier humans that can do that.
Yeah.
But like if you just eat something for a day or 2 days, you get sick of it. There's got to be something there
Yeah.
for like a natural inclination to want to get a variety of
Mhm.
food, right?
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
biologically. So,
Yeah.
Well, I think that's like how we train too. Is like we don't really rely on like the sports nutrition stuff too much.
mhm.
It's like we try to bring more real food. Like I think any long days we almost always bring like a PB&J and like still like just snacks, but still more real food I think than just like gels and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I think that real food's better. If you can do real food,
Yeah.
it's better. For
I
you.
think you just
Definitely.
have to accept your fate and realize like you're not going to be having fun eating a lot of this food. You just have to get it in. Like
Yeah.
that's like what you need. I understand a lot of people like develop an aversion to food when they're running. Like it's hard for them, but it's like it doesn't matter. Force it down. Unless you're like throwing it back up, you've just gotta force yourself. So that's kind of what I was doing for the last 2 days or day and a half. Was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's
Or sit down.
it's a utility. It's a required like core foundational thing of an endurance sport, right? Like there's only a few like core things you got to have, and being able to consume and process calories and turn your body into basically just like a calorie processing machine. Right?
Yeah.
Fun or not, it's not, you're not even looking at it. Because I look at like aid stations as like, when I am a pacer or whatever, I'm like, this is an all you can eat buffet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure they don't like that very much, but like I'm kind of a addictive eater. So like, in regular life, that is something I have to manage. But during endurance sports, it's like, I'm like a gambling junkie in Vegas. You know what I mean? Like going to like shoveling it in like to the point where I have to kind of slow down or else I'll get sick because I just like put so much in. But when I'm, you know, benchmarking against athletes that are trying to put in 250 to 300 calories an hour, that is so much food. I've gotten sick. The last 2 times I've done events, I've gotten sick because I'm overdoing the food, because I've figured out, okay, 250 is my sweet spot. 300 is way too much. But neither of you really did any of that kind of, you just kind of ate when it was convenient. And
pretty much,
that's very freeing, you know?
I have no idea.
And no bonks.
I mean, I'll like sometimes like before, if I know how long we're going to be out, like in a long run, I'll like count out how many calories I'm bringing just to kind of have an idea of like, generally, is this enough?
Yeah.
But then, I don't know. I mean, I'll try to eat something like every hour, but I don't keep too much track of it, honestly.
Yeah, like I have like an alarm that goes off every hour. That's like, gotta eat, gotta eat. And it's almost obsessive sometimes. But I've gotten behind so many times that I'm like afraid. There's just this sweet spot, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've done that too, though, where you kind of, I think I have in the past, like, tried to nail it of like, oh, I'm going to eat 300 calories an hour. And then, and then it's like, I don't feel good. So I'm like, well, maybe I don't need that much, or I'm just going to kind of go by feel more. I don't know. I mean, but again, it worked well for me. So, yeah.
So what about your gear? Both had hiking poles?
I did not.
Oh, whoa. Did you the last 2 years?
So in 2022, I don't own hiking poles. So I borrowed some from my friend Meredith. And that first year, I carried them with me almost the entire race. And I used them on the Mingus climb, the Kasner Canyon climb, and Eldon. So like 15 miles total. And it was just annoying to have to like put them away and like, you know, configure them in your bag. And so this year I was like, I'm just not going to bring them at all. And I was fine. I'm glad I didn't. Yeah. I clearly don't know how to use them. I mean, I don't own them. I never run with them. So I thought it would be more of a hindrance. And like I mentioned, like my legs felt really good. So I didn't miss them at all. The climbs felt fine. Like I was stoked to get to Eldon and climb. Like, so yeah.
And you've done probably like all that canyon time, no poles. I mean, you spent a lot of time doing vert with no poles. Yeah.
And like I haven't looked into it much. I don't really look into anything much, but
you're such a free spirit now.
She is,
just people tell me things and I'm like, all right, that's fact. But I've heard that like if you use poles, you're burning like 20% more calories or something.
Like 30%.
So then you have to eat more. And so like that's already a struggle for most people to eat enough on like a 3 or 4 day event. So it worked for me. But like everything I'm saying for anyone who's listening, like don't listen to me. Like I'm just like one person. You know, like people just have to figure out what works for them. And I think poles do benefit most people.
Yeah, I think they do. But now, you know, you've introduced an interesting argument, a thought experiment or something for somebody to try maybe. Yeah, that's what this is all about, is like spreading information, looking at new ideas, and then trying it out. And maybe it works for somebody. There's no magic solution for like anything, for eating, for poles, for shoes, for biking. Like people are always looking for chamois, like or saddle sore problems, you know, like no chamois, with the chamois, what works, bibs, no bibs. And there's like, there's no, it's like, it's your saddle. And I've had this conversation the last 4 podcasts, right? Because it's like a very relevant topic. But like, that's a very valid argument. Like there's an energy savings possibility. And
it just depends on how efficient you are with poles. Because like, I mean, I don't remember who it was. Someone during the race, I was watching I think it was a woman, watching her use her poles, and I was like, are you getting any gain out of it? Like, it just kind of, it just depends on like how you're using them, I think. But
I could definitely see poles
I don't
as
like them.
like a safety thing for me when I'm getting kind of squirrely, like when I'm starting to kick rocks and stuff. I have those other point of contacts to keep me from, I don't know, going down into the barbed wire fence like last time I did a run.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think honestly, some of the like really loose downhills, I was kind of wishing I had them to stabilize, but it's just not worth it for me for like a few miles out of a 250-mile race. It's like I can deal with it.
Right.
So
you had poles.
Yeah, I did use poles most of the time. There were several sections that I didn't use them in just because I knew they were like runnable, and I was just like didn't want to carry them. But yeah, I use them most of the time. But yeah, I mean, going up Eldon, I was like pretty wobbly and moving really slow and struggling, and I'm really glad I had them. Like there was a few moments I was like, well, towards the top, I'd say like I was having serious thoughts of like, I might fall off this mountain if I'm not careful, like because it was just I know one time I stumbled pretty bad, like, but towards the mountain luckily. But then after that, it was just like this super slow march of just like pull, like step up, and then just like doing that the whole way up. And it was really slow, but it was kind of like, I'm glad I had them. Especially on Eldon too. It's like there's so many big steps and like just, so, and I was struggling. So I was glad I had them for most of the race. I mean, yeah. And I've trained with them before, and I've done some like a mountain race last summer that was like a lot of climbing, high elevation stuff, so it's like I trained a lot with them for that purpose. But it's how you manage them too. I think like I usually just use like a waist belt that I can put them in, and like like the Z poles, so I just fold them up and then just put them in my waist belt, and like I don't even notice they're there. So that's really nice. But for the Cocodona, I was like, well, I don't think I want to wear a waist belt for like 4 days, so I only wore it I think for the first like day or two maybe. So
what about lighting? What type of lighting did both of you use?
We both just used regular headlamps. I think I might have a Petzl, like just like a head, I'm not into the waist stuff.
The Kogala, the big old, like the Jeep spotlight
it
sort of situation
it puts
going
pressure on your bladder, and you feel like you have to pee like the whole time
I've never
you're
worn
wearing
it.
it.
I've just strapped it onto other people.
Yeah. It's a little much for me. It's like you're out there in the wilderness, like let's be a little more in tune with nature in the dark. But it was dark this year. It was like a new moon, and like when you turned your headlamp off in the middle of the night, it was pitch black out there. It was kind of freaky. So it was dark.
I just had like a black diamond headlamp, like nothing super fancy.
Rechargeable.
And I would usually just charge it. I mean, I had a crew, so it was easy for me to like when I get into crew to just like charge all my stuff real quick, and then they worked great.
Both probably can see pretty well in low light then. You got the young eyes.
Yeah, I think so. Right. Yeah, I don't have glasses or contacts. I mean, she does, but
yeah. I mean, that's like I have decent visibility, and it riding at night, and so I feel lucky to be able to have that. Because I know a lot of people who they have to really their whole battery recharging game has to be kind of configured around their vision, their lower vision.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those factors,
I don't think my vision's very good, but I think I was like, okay, well, let's see 10 feet in front of me. That's all you need.
Well,
right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of vision, there was a guy I ran into right the last few miles, like when you come down to Eldon and then you turn onto Oldham. Me and my pacer saw this guy, and he was like coming up the trail towards us, and we're like, that's weird. Like, what's this guy doing? And it was like midnight, past midnight or something.
Yeah.
And we were like, hey man, like, how's it going? Like, you okay? And he's like, are you guys finishing the 250? And we're like, yeah. Like, and he had, I don't know, there's a term for it, but basically it happens in ultras where people get this like fog, like over their eyes, like their vision gets really cloudy and they can't see. This happened like famously to Courtney Dauwalter in a race, but this was happening to this guy. So he actually asked if he could tag along with us to the finish because he like couldn't see or like he could see a little bit, but it was like he was having trouble navigating, and it was I thought it was very obvious how to follow the trail, and he would like go up ahead and stop and have to like look around, and we were like, is this guy just like really sleep deprived? And he's like
confused.
super
It's
out
temporary.
of it.
It's like
Right.
it stops like right when you stop running.
Yeah.
But yeah, my eye doctor actually told me about it last year.
Yeah, and then eventually he just like straight up he just asked us like, hey, do you mind if I just keep up with you or stay with you guys, because like I can't see? And we were like, all right, yeah, sure, man.
Wow.
So
is it like blood flow, like leaving the eyes,
I
or
don't know.
I actually don't really know what causes it. I mean, I think it's maybe like dryness, you know, of just like
Okay.
constantly moving and like keeping your eyes open for so
Yeah.
long. I don't know too much about it. There is a term for it, but it happened to Courtney Dauwalter a long time
And now
ago.
she
and
uses
she
eye
like,
drops like a lot.
yeah, because that was like, I think she like, it happened. She like, I don't even know if she could see it all, and she like still finished.
was
but
it because I've heard or seen where there's like a closing, you kind of get this closing
Yeah.
of your vision down, like a tunnel
Sure.
on the
It might be
sides.
like that.
I think,
don't know.
yeah, I'm not sure. It might be something like that too. I think I've heard it explained as sort of like cloudy, like kind of vision.
Interesting.
So, but yeah, it goes away. I don't think it lasts all that long, but like once you kind of stop and get some rest.
So
but,
scary.
Yeah.
So I had this thing happen to me. I ride a bike trainer occasionally
Uh-huh.
for training, and I had this thing happen to me yesterday. I was doing it, and when I do extremely hard workouts on it, like almost throwing up in a bucket when I'm done kind of workouts, like
Yeah.
super high intensity, super high heart rate. I had this thing happen like 20 to 30 minutes afterwards where I think it's an ocular migraine, maybe, where I get these white bands
Oh.
across my eyes, and it happens particularly when I exercise, eat, and then go stare at a computer screen.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm like going back to work,
Yeah.
and I'm like typing an email, and then everything just has these white, I can't focus on individual letters because like
Whoa.
everything has these white bands across it.
Mhm.
And then it goes away after, I don't know, 30 minutes, but it's super weird and
Interesting.
disruptive and
Yeah.
slightly scary. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
did I just
scary.
like
Eye stuff's really scary.
pop something in my
Yeah.
brain, you know? Like, did I just like, you know,
Yeah.
like permanently
Yeah.
damage something? And it's happened multiple, I'd say it's happened maybe 6 times. I should probably talk to my doctor about it. but I think it's an ocular migraine.
Yeah.
Dr. Google has told me that,
Yeah.
that's the result. So anyway, interesting weird stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I read that it was like a blood flow. Like all the blood is like,
Mm.
we're going to your legs.
Yeah.
All the blood's getting recruited to your legs.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So we're just
Yeah.
going to take it out of your eyeballs. Great. Anyway, that's wild.
Yeah.
Let's try to avoid that.
Yeah.
Either of those scenarios. Okay. So it's been a month. Do either of you have a desire to do Cocodona again?
Well, not next year because the wait list is like 330 people long.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that answered that
I
for
wish.
me.
Sold out. Yeah,
Right.
which is crazy. Yeah, it sold out so fast.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like during the race and like immediately after, I was like, I feel so good about how that went. Like, I really do think that that was like my best effort out there. I'm very happy with how I felt, how I performed. So I kind of feel like I like closed the book, you know, like
Mhm.
I don't know what else I could really go out and do, but it is just kind of fun. I like the 200 plus distance. I think that that's just kind of for me. So I could see myself doing it in the future. Maybe it has like just grown so much that I don't really want to pay for it. And like, I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll see if I can do it again in the future. Maybe. I have 2 friends, really good friends on the wait list this year.
Cool.
So I'm like really hoping that they both get in and I can just spend the entire week pacing both of them on and off. So, yeah, not immediately, but
Yeah.
in the
Fair enough.
future.
No, I've had a lot of people ask that. It's funny. But I don't think I'd want to do it next year. Again, yeah, I mean, I sold out, so I can't, but I think I felt pretty satisfied. I think I could do it faster, but I don't really feel a desire to have to go back to do that faster. Like, it's such a big effort, and I don't know. I think maybe I'd lean towards putting that effort towards something, just a different experience. Like, I mean, I loved the race. It was awesome. I'll always be there to like, you know, be a part of it in some way, but I don't know if, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe in a few years or something like that, if I feel like I want to go back, but
Yeah.
I would for sure. But again, yeah, the cost it's pretty expensive, and
Yeah.
and just,
It asks, like, you ask a lot of other people too.
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. it's a pretty selfish endeavor, honestly.
For sure.
I mean, and I think that's hard for me personally. Like I think I have trouble asking for help, and so that was like hard for me. I felt bad. Like my mom, my dad, my sister all crewed for me, and then my mom and my sister paced me as well.
Wow.
And yeah, it was like just up all day in the middle of the, in the middle of the night, coming to drive out in the middle of nowhere to come like clean my feet and like, get me in bed. Yeah, literally like stuff like that. And like, so and they were so happy to do it. And I think they had a lot of fun, and it was like a really cool experience to share that with them. And even with pacers too, like, it's quite a special experience to share with other people, which I think is really probably one of the more impactful things coming out of that, and just feeling so loved. Like, I know you said that, I think the first year you ran it was like just feeling this, like, this support from those people, from the pacers and even volunteers and everybody. It's just like, it's pretty special. So
yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah. So your mom's a runner?
Yeah.
Or runs?
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that. Like whether that isn't like having your family as your crew. It seems like that's I don't know. If I had my parents as my crew, they'd be like, come on. You're hurting. Come on. Let's go. I got food in a bed for you, my mom, but if she's a runner, she probably understands, like, I'm not going to like entice you into, quitting maybe. Like, I can see how, I was going to ask about that earlier, but seems like it worked out just fine.
Yeah.
Well, she's like been around the sport too. Like the first year I ran it, my mom was pissed and she was like, "You're gonna die. Like,
right.
You're actually gonna die out there. Don't do it." Yeah. She was like not happy at all until I think like a couple days into the race. They live in Illinois, so they're following the tracker. And I think when she realized like, "Oh, you're doing it. Like you seem fine," then she kind of calmed down. And this year she was fine. But I think if she would be so stressed crewing. Yeah. And I think if she saw me just have like a moment of not feeling good, she'd be like, "This is bad for you.
Right.
Please stop."
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like, but once people looking at it on track leaders, and then once you're actually like involved in it, you realize that it's a different thing. This is like such a special moment in time for everyone to be involved in,
Yeah.
And it's really actually quite safe. Like,
it is.
Yeah.
It's really totally. Like, I feel doing these things, I feel more nervous commuting to work on my bicycle.
Yeah.
True.
Than going out and like being in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah.
And occasionally with other people that are also equally out in the middle of nowhere with me,
Yeah. Some of the stuff I've done over the years in the canyon, I'm like, "Mom, you don't even know."
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Like,
yeah.
Sorry, Carrie's mom.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it definitely, I totally get what you mean. Like I said, I think at Mingus when I was up there and I was like in rough shape, I think she was like, "Whoa, okay, this is kind of serious." And like, I don't think she was too freaked out, but she was definitely encouraging me to sleep and like take a serious break when I think I was still a little bit of like, had that ego of like, "No, I don't need to sleep. Like, I'm fine. I'll, and didn't want to like waste the time, but ultimately it's like I had to, and it worked out. But no, they were great. And yeah, I mean, my mom's crewed me at other races as well. And she's actually like super into trail and ultra running herself. She's never run an ultra yet. But no, she was awesome. Yeah. Shout out to her. She's 71. She paced me 17 miles in Cocodona.
That is so cool.
And she's, I think she wants to do it to 50K in the fall, I think. So
it's amazing.
Yeah. She's
awesome.
badass. And so
cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's 9:30. I know we got to get you out of here at 9:45. Maybe both of you. So I wanted to do some rapid fire questions really quick. Let's just do them with you for now, and then we'll figure out. I don't know. You have another hour.
I can stay longer. Yeah.
But let's do, Carrie. Let's knock out your rapid fire questions first. So, what's your favorite in race food?
Some form of potatoes.
Nice. Potato chips.
Roasted potatoes. Mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes. Nice. What's your favorite post-race food?
Oh, God. Chocolate milk.
Ah.
This year was hard because I couldn't eat. My friends got me pizza colada after the race. I went home and I was like, "I can't eat this." I had like half a piece and it was really rough. My stupid tongue. So I didn't eat for like a day.
Did you brush your teeth throughout?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like multiple times. Yeah.
And
I don't know what's wrong with me.
It's probably a sugar.
Yeah.
Probably just like the sugar stores. I've gotten that before. Yeah. What's your spirit animal?
Ooh. Oh my God.
It's not a dog?
Well, yeah, that's my like my favorite animals are dogs, pronghorn antelope. I really like bison. I don't know if I identify with any of those personality wise.
Yeah, it's all right. I have a bad habit of like assigning spirit animals to
Ooh,
people.
what's mine?
I haven't assigned one to you yet. I feel like after this podcast, I'll probably get to know you, have known you better, so I can.
Okay. I'm really curious.
Go into deep thinking, but it'll have to be on a future episode.
Okay. Fair.
And I don't know how I feel about assigning spirit animals to other people. Also, they usually don't take it too well, rather than self-assign. What's your endurance superpower?
I actually think sleep deprivation. I think I'm very comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you sleep a lot in normal life? Do you not sleep? Yeah.
Well, maybe not a lot. I am more of like a night owl, I think, than him. I have a hard time waking up early these days. But I think I've done a lot. Like, even though I haven't raced a lot, I've done a lot of stuff in my life where I haven't gotten a ton of sleep, or like I've just had really, really long days out in the wilderness. And so, yeah, I think sleep deprivation. I do like night running a lot too. Some people aren't super big fans, but I think it's kind of cool. So yeah, I like overnight stuff.
Nice. Have you ever had like a bad fall? What's your worst like crash or fall while running?
No, I am not that clumsy, and I don't run fast, so I think like that is helpful. I fell during Cocodona the first year and had like a nice little scrape, but didn't fall at all this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's it's a lot of steps.
Yeah.
To not fall.
Yeah. I was really happy about it. You don't want something like that to like take you out, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's the balance between being careful and being cautious in certain areas and trying to go fast and trying to hike with intent.
Yeah.
It's all that balance, you know?
Yeah.
Who inspires you?
Whew. I've never thought about most of these questions before. I like don't follow actual ultra runners very much, other than like Courtney, who obviously is a huge inspiration, and it's because of like her attitude. Like, she's so happy out there. I've seen her in races, like I've seen her in Hard Rock, and so her attitude, the fact that she doesn't have a coach, the fact that she just like walks out her front door and figures out what she's going to run for the day, that's all really, really inspiring. And I feel like if she can do it, I can do it. Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And then my friends, like as athletes and as humans, like the women who have paced me the last 3 years are all just super incredible. And I think it's inspiring to see people who work full-time jobs, who are moms, like who have other stresses and shit going on, who are still like getting after it. So yeah, like Flagstaff women.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Courtney.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you listen to a lot of podcasts? And what's your favorite podcast?
My favorite podcast is Pod Save America.
Okay.
Political podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listen to mostly political podcasts. So Pod Save America and 538 politics podcast. It's about polling. It's really nerdy.
Okay.
Yeah. And
that's
then,
a deep cut.
Yeah.
Nerd podcast.
Oh yeah, that one's really nerdy. Pod Save America is a little more entertaining. And then I used to listen to Armchair Expert a lot. I've kind of like moved away from it a bit. It's like they're getting all sort of the same vibe, but they do like. Do you listen to that? It's Dak Shepard. If you know,
oh yeah,
funny guy.
Yeah, I've heard.
He interviews people, and then they do on Fridays Armchair Anonymous. So they'll have like a prompt, and people call in with their stories, and they're usually really funny. So I saved a bunch of those up for Cocodona this year. Like I didn't listen for like a month and a half or something, and I think I listened to like one during the race. So those are entertaining. I hate running podcasts.
Okay.
Just kidding. No, I mean, honestly, I don't listen to those much. Sometimes I listen to really trashy podcasts like that are about like Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of reality shows like The Bachelor and stuff like that.
Politics and reality TV.
Are you listening to these while you're like doing Cocodona?
So I didn't listen to much of anything during Cocodona because my pacers were super entertaining and we were just chatting and having a good time. But I listened to a little bit of music. Coming down from Eldon, I was just like in such a good headspace, and I was just like happy tears, like having like a moment. So I listened to a playlist that I made running down, and like listened to it almost till the very end, and then I like finally took my music out the last few blocks, but that was just because I was in like flow state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you like, you almost, I felt you feel that revisiting that state for just a second there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to live there for the rest of my life.
Yeah. It's so hard to get there, you know. That's why it's so special to get to that moment. Like at the end of these things where just like you're overcome with weird emotion.
Oh yeah.
Like you're like happy and sad. It's all mixed together. You know?
So. I almost cried many times running down Eldon.
Yeah.
But I didn't cry at the end. I never have. But
yeah. Have you ever drank out of any really bad or worst water sources? Worst water source you've ever drank from?
Ooh, that's a good question.
If you filter water and, you know.
I don't know that I can recall one that I've drank out of, but last year I was doing the Tonto in the canyon in the fall, and there was like no water at all, and it was like 95 degrees, and so it was like miserable, and there were some tiny little pools of water that were like slimy, like green slime, and had a bunch of bugs, and I didn't filter out of them, but I like dunked my shirt and my hat. After I finished that, I like got this like corneal ulcer, and I thought that I was like, oh my God, I got like an amoeba in my eye.
Yeah, like the parasites you see on the internet.
Yeah, I was convinced that that's what happened.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was just wearing my contacts for too long, but.
But you had like probably Dr. Google told you
the
possibility.
God. Well, and my eye doctors.
And
I won't call him out.
That like lost his eye from an amoeba in his eye.
Yeah, from like a hot spring. He got like a parasite or an amoeba or something in his eye. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah, I was really scared. So just a little corneal ulcer.
And finally, one piece of advice you'd give to new endurance athletes.
Just like try to be in tune with yourself and not to compare yourself to other runners, both in terms of like results and like what other people are doing. I mean, I like kind of mentioned earlier when we were talking about polls, nothing I've said is advice at all. It's just like, that's what I do. It doesn't work for some people. It might work for others. So, you know, if you like using Strava, use Strava. Like, so I think everyone just kind of should listen to their bodies and their minds and do what feels good and like have fun. And running with people the last several years has been really good for me. I've been running since I was like 13 or something, and most of my running life has been solo until moving to Flagstaff and finding a really great community, and that has been awesome. So
Awesome. Amazing. Yeah. You know, I was at the running event that I saw Austin at the other day, and I realized like in Flagstaff, we've normalized these people. These are all like wild athletes, tip of the spear in this community, right? They're all but they're like, we've normalized all that. So if you're an outsider, like coming in, you're the scale, we've changed the scale of it, right? And you're just like hanging out with these people, with these like crazy, ultra amazing athletes of all kinds of calibers, you know? And it's like, yeah, these are just normal people around here. So it's just, I'm so thankful to be around all of that. And I mean, you're inspiring just with your ability to be free from this. Like, I'm very envious of that, you know, to the point where I think you've like convinced me to try a few things here, right? Because just your results and the amount of fun you can have and the freedom that you seem to have with this last round of Cocodona is just really inspiring.
Thank you. So. Yeah. And I mean, we didn't talk about it specifically, but like that was one thing this year that I didn't want to know like what place I was in ever. Because the year before, I mean, you have service out there like the entire race.
Yeah.
So in 2023, I was on the like tracker. I was seeing like where I was, who was in front of me, and it was really bothering me. Oh, thanks.
Outdoor
But this
studio.
year, yeah, I just I didn't know where I was, and that was really nice too. And a couple of my pacers would be like, "Do you want to know what place you're in?" I was like, "No, I don't. Really don't."
Yeah,
And I didn't know until after I finished.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So freeing.
And then it was like a sweet surprise to know I was like in the
Yeah.
top 5. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get you out of here.
Okay. Wait, I kind of want to listen to your answers.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you doing rapid
yeah,
fire?
you
I'll
have
just-
some more time?
Sure. I want to listen.
Okay.
Cool. Let's do Austin's rapid fire.
Cool. Oh, geez.
He got time to think about it
did,
though.
yeah.
Oh,
So-
you did? That's not rapid.
Well, just because you got it.
Oh,
Yeah.
same. I thought maybe
Yeah.
they were different questions.
No,
You like went to a different
no.
piece of paper. Okay.
Same set. Favorite in-race food?
Pizza. Yeah.
Any particular toppings?
Honestly, sometimes cheese is just just simple. And I know I ate that at Whiskey Row, and I don't know, it just always goes down good.
Yeah.
I know Chris Bunch calls them sodium triangles.
Yeah.
And I think did you guys come up with that or something?
He did. Yeah.
And I thought
that's all him.
that's hilarious. And I always think about that now. So it's like
Yeah,
perfect endurance food.
Yeah, we had they were like the Pizza Hut. They were like calzone. I forget what they called them, but he called them sodium triangles. But they were like just like pockets of just like dense salt,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I particularly like pizza because it fits like in the frame. I've said this like 12 times, but it fits in the frame bag. It's like already a triangle.
Yeah. There you go.
So it like fits nicely
Yeah.
in a bike.
Well, it's good hot or cold too.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't go bad for days.
yeah.
If you get pepperoni, like
Yeah.
unrefrigerated for
Yeah.
days, you can eat pizza and not
Yeah.
get sick.
Yeah.
True.
I've tested that theory. All right. Post-race food.
I think like salmon, like a nice like baked salmon. I don't know why we eat that a lot,
Interesting.
but I don't know, that maybe that's just because it's like kind of like comfort food. But that's what I thought of when she said that.
Nice.
Or pizza.
Yeah. Or pizza. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty I kind of eat whatever, so I'm not too picky. After Cocodona, I finished at like 1:30 in the morning, and we were driving home, and I was trying to find food to eat.
Yeah.
And we had to go to McDonald's, which I haven't had McDonald's in years.
Uh-huh.
So I just got like 2 spicy McChickens and like some fries. It was okay, but it was like I just needed calories.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm gonna fall apart if I don't eat. So
Jessica food shames me for McDonald's. So me and my friend Dana, we have this ongoing thing. That's like we go on dates together to
Nice.
McDonald's because both of our wives like food shame us for going there.
Yep.
And we're like, I don't care. We're going together. Because like there's something about McDonald's mid-race. I mean, they have ice cream. They have some
Yeah,
serious ice
McFlurries
cream
aren't
situation when their thing is working. Apparently that's a thing.
oh yeah,
There's like a tracker for
yeah.
the ice cream machine being broken at McDonald's.
Well, isn't it like I've heard that like that's kind of just like a conspiracy that they just say it's broken because they like don't want to make McFlurries at like whatever time of
1
night.
a.m.
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah, probably.
could be. I don't know.
Yeah, when I was on Pinions and Pines, it was broken. The Camp Verde McDonald's had it broken, and it was about 100,000 degrees
Oh.
outside, and I was just like,
that's lame.
get to McDonald's, get
Oh,
ice
no.
cream, get to McDonald's, and I got there, and it was all
That's really
Oh,
lame.
that's rough.
unavailable.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
guys.
Well, I get it. Me and my buddy go to Taco Bell dates. Me and my
Okay.
buddy Morgan, and she shames me about Taco Bell. So
So disgusting. How can you eat that garbage food?
I think the last time I ate well, maybe I ate it when I was in college drunk, but when I was on my high school cross country team,
Yeah.
on our long run, we like went by a Taco Bell. And so this one long run day, all the girls were like, we're going to go to Taco Bell during the long run and like not tell our coach. And so we stopped at Taco Bell mid long run, and it was disgusting. I mean, his friend did like a
well, mid
whole-
long run. Oh
so
yeah.
nasty. So I feel like that's my memory of Taco Bell.
Yeah. My friend Morgan did what did I think
Bell
it was
to
the bell to bell to bell. So they ran to all 3 Taco Bells in Flagstaff.
Oh, that's amazing.
And they like ate at each one. You had to get like, I don't know what his rules were, but you had to get one thing at each
right.
Taco Bell.
Like a
and
challenge, yeah.
he was like, oh, I'm never eating Taco Bell again after that. And I think like a week later he was eating Taco Bell. Sounded pretty miserable though.
Yeah, I mean, that's a skill to be able to put down 2,000 calories in the middle of an endurance event and keep going in the heat. I mean, that's like a unique thing you
Yeah.
can train for, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least in bike packing, because look, bike packing, we want to like self-supported bike packing. I want to eat good food, but it's just not possible. Like I want to have
Yeah.
healthy food. but like you're getting what you can.
Yeah.
And it's usually gas station stuff.
Yeah.
And like, so you just, I don't know, you get good at that, putting down that kind of calories. So, okay. Spirit animal.
Yeah, that one's tough. I don't know. I mean, like, we love dogs, so I think dogs is like an easy one just because they're so like happy-go-lucky and like they sleep a lot and just have like chill lives.
If that's how your dog is.
Yeah,
I've had dogs that aren't like that.
That's true. Yeah, my dog not as much as hers, but yeah, pretty they're pretty chill.
Nice.
But I don't know. Can you think
I'm
what
just
would be one
thinking,
for me?
I don't know.
I'm not good at thinking about that kind of stuff. Yeah,
That's all
I
right.
guess dog.
Yeah, we'll take it.
I like
Canine.
it. Yeah,
We'll take it.
just jealous of their lives, you know.
Yep. And what is your endurance superpower?
I think like kind of just staying calm and just sort of like I don't think if things start going badly that I like freak out, It's like I can kind of just problem solve and just keep moving, like figure out whatever I need and just kind of get it figured out and keep moving. I mean, I think that's a big thing in Cocodona is like obviously the mindset, and probably any like long multi-day thing like that is like I think a lot of people build it up to be this just monumental thing, and like it is a big deal. It's a big, effort, but I think you just kind of have to just not, think about it like that. You just sort of got to keep moving and just like visualize the finish line and just, I don't know, not stress about it. And that was really helpful for me, was just kind of getting to the next aid station was the goal, just chip away at it slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you like that at work, in normal life, when you encounter problems?
I think most of the time. I mean, there's definitely like breaking points for sure. Times that I get like super stressed out and becomes like not manageable. But I think for the most part, I'm a pretty laid back person in general. So, yeah.
After you finished Cocodona, the 2 weeks or so following, was life harder or easier to manage?
I think probably easier, because I think that's just like a big weight lifted off, and you're like, well, I don't need to run. I don't need to train right now, And like even now, I think we've both still been just kind of like in sort of chill mode. Like we still get out and run and go to the gym, like pretty much doing something every day. But like that just constant training, I think gets old and is stressful. So
yeah,
it's
hard
nice
to work though.
Yeah.
Like your brain isn't functioning. It's hard to do serious
work.
Like be in deep thought.
Like, so, and this is a bonus rapid fire question, apparently. So I find it's sometimes dogs barking. That's the outdoor studio. Actually, the listeners won't be able to hear most of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Dogs barking in the background. I find that for a couple days after I do something like this, I'm in an afterglow and everything is like great. And I'm kind of like, I'm in ecstasy about life. And then there's a kind of a cliff that drops off on the other side, and menial tasks feel hard to overcome. It's hard to work. Sometimes it's hard to type because my hands are wrecked.
Oh yeah.
Do either of you get any of that, or have you had any of that the last few weeks?
Not the first part. Like, I mean, I think, Cocodona is really cool. Love it. But it's a sacrifice too. Like training for me is a big sacrifice because I love like backpacking and exploring, and training for a race like Cocodona. Like your weekends are like, oh, I'm doing a long run, and it gets really tedious for me. And I was really looking forward to like being done with that like chapter of my life, and then being able to go back to just like exploring around and like doing other things, going on road trips, stuff like that. So that was like a relief for me. I wasn't like, oh man, what am I going to do with my life now that I can't go on a long run? Like I have plenty of other stuff I want to do. But working, it is hard. Like I would get to like 2 p.m. every day and be like, wow, I am just not thinking straight. Like, not being able to focus on like difficult work tasks.
Yeah.
So
that's like every day for me at 2 p.m.
Yeah, true.
So Yeah. Feel you on that.
Yeah.
Okay, worst crash or fall?
I was thinking there's this one time I was running down Humphreys, which is a terrible trail to run down.
Yeah.
It's so rocky and rooty, and I love going up there, but yeah, running down it is kind of terrible. And I haven't had many bad falls, and this one wasn't even that bad, but I just kind of like just running along, and the next thing I know, I was just like Supermaning, just like straight onto my chest. And like luckily it was like a pretty flat like section, which was really lucky because there is so many like jagged rocks that I could have landed on. And just kind of like skinned myself up, and it wasn't that bad, but I did have to like get up and like sit down for a minute and be like, whoa, that was like kind of a lot. And that was probably one of the worst ones, yeah, because it just happened so quick. It was just before I knew it, I was just like on the ground. So yeah.
Totally.
I bet your biking guests have way more interesting answers to that
Probably,
question.
yeah.
I mean,
more
running, you can really hurt yourself running too.
Yeah.
Biking looks, I think, I don't know, bike crashes are like my favorite like watching bike crashes are my favorite pastime activity. Because they're just so like violent, and the bike's just like flipping around, and especially if you're clipped in, sometimes it comes with you, and it's like a whole thing. So, but it's amazing how little people get hurt and how catastrophic it looks while they're like in the air flipping. But no, I mean, like personally, I've hurt myself worse running on a running fall than biking. Yeah. Like the barbed wire where I fell and grabbed a barbed wire fence and just slipped my whole hand open.
Oh my God.
Yeah. In the middle of Stagecoach. I was doing a duo on Stagecoach. This was like 30 miles in or something.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And they were like, the aid station like opened it up and washed it out and repacked it for me. And yeah.
That's gnarly.
Yeah. And I had to get stitches. And I mean, it was like, it was, I've never, I don't know. Riding bikes, like bike packing, you're not ever, you just kind of tip over every once in a while. You know, you just hope you tip over on the mountainside and not on the cliffside. But so, and it's always, you're just going so slow that nothing's
That's
like.
how I am with running though.
Yeah. So it's really not that bad. But like last weekend I did like a 70-mile endurance race and I was pushing it and I wrecked hard coming down Fisher Point.
Oh yeah.
In those rock gardens.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. I just kind of like was on the ground. I didn't know what happened. I was on the ground. My bike was over there. I didn't knock myself out, but I slid into a rock and pinched my lip. Like I slid into this rock and hit the side of my helmet and then pinched my lip between my tooth and a rock. So it like busted my lip on both sides. It was so close to really bad hospitalization that it honestly freaked me out. Like, but I'm going back tomorrow to go try it again. Because I like on Monday, because I didn't finish, I got out on Lake Mary Road and I was, I don't know, 20 miles from the finish, and I called Jess and she came and picked me up. And, but then on Monday I woke up and I was like, my hand's feeling pretty good. I think I'm going to go back. I'm going to get redemption. I can't take it. I can't just be at peace. You know?
Well, that's the funny thing is we were just like doing some painting on the house, like I was telling you last weekend. And I like rolled my ankle painting the house. Like again, I didn't, no injuries during Cocodona for 250 miles. And then I ate shit and like rolled my ankle trying to paint the house because I just stepped on a loose rock and it just flipped and I was like on my ass. And I was like, come on. Yeah. It wasn't bad, but it was just kind of hilarious. And it like actually did fall pretty hard.
Worst crash or fall. I was painting my house and not paying attention. That's funny. All right. Who inspires you?
I'd say definitely like my family, like my mom, because I mean, like I've mentioned, she's just like been running her whole life and into her older age now, and she's still like running. And you know, we used to go on backpacking trips like a lot, or like every year we go to the Grand Canyon. And so endurance wise and just sports, like she's kind of a big inspiration for me. I'd say like my dad too. He's not a runner, but just like, I don't know, he's gotten me interested in a lot of other things in life, you know, and being creative and all that kind of stuff. Both my parents are creative, so that's definitely a big one. I'd say also just sort of like one that comes to mind is like Edward Abbey, like somebody that has written a lot of books and things about the Southwest, and just that is like growing up in Arizona and living here my whole life, that I just really have a special like place in my heart for Arizona specifically, but the Southwest as a whole. But I just think that's why a big reason why I wanted to do Cocodona too was just like I thought it was just so cool to connect all these towns and historic towns in Arizona and see so much different climate and environments. And I grew up going to those little towns, you know, as a kid. Like that's where the road trips with me and my parents would do, and would go to Jerome or Prescott or Flagstaff or wherever. And, you know, so that was really cool to be able to like connect all that. And then,
yeah, we're so lucky.
Yeah.
Arizona's so cool. Like
Yeah.
the diversity of Arizona.
Yeah.
as a
I think
state.
it's super special. Yeah. So
Awesome. Favorite podcast, if you listen to podcasts?
yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I mean, a few like Dylan Bowman's podcast. He's my trail running inspiration.
Yeah, he should have been
Nice.
your inspiration.
That's true. Dylan Bowman is just like a trail runner media guy, and I've always liked his stuff.
Cool.
And he's got a great podcast. But other stuff too. Yeah, I listen to like political stuff too. I love stuff like Radio Lab, NPR, you know, kind of more like stories, interesting stuff like that.
Yeah.
I do listen to a decent amount of like running podcasts, but I mean, it just depends what I'm feeling. Rich Roll, been listening to a lot of Rich Roll lately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. And your worst water source you've ever drank from?
I don't know. Yeah. If I've had any terrible ones like that either. I actually was thinking about the one Carrie mentioned when I was with her on the
You weren't
Tonto.
with us.
Well, but we did in the gems. There was that section that we dunked our clothes into. She probably doesn't remember because she was so out of it. But it was the same thing. It was a super remote section. Yeah, we just got to this like one little pothole of water, and it was just like full of bugs and so nasty. And we were like, should we filter that? Because like we were in a long remote section with no water, like 30-mile section, and we didn't drink out of it, but we did dunk our hats and shirts and stuff. But I don't think there's really many too questionable ones. I think most of the stuff we do is, you know, more day stuff, or if we've done backpacking trips, there's like good water sources. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're smart and you plan well.
I
Is
guess
another way of
so.
saying that.
Or we need
Well,
to like do some more epic
Or you
shit.
need to, yeah,
Yeah,
right,
I know,
like,
yeah.
That's another way of looking at it, right?
Yeah.
Go get yourself into situations where you
Sure.
have to drink out of DF grade water.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
I
been a
mean-
few answers to that one on this podcast where I'm like, no, I don't know if
really?
I would have done that.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Giardia doesn't hit for like what, like a week or two, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Right?
right.
So
Yeah.
if you survive getting through the thing, I guess that's
Yeah.
better than dying of, yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So
Okay. And last rapid fire question. One piece of advice you'd give to a new endurance athlete.
I think just kind of believing in yourself that you can do like, you know, hard stuff, and don't take it that seriously either, because I think there's so much pressure to train a certain way and like run a certain amount of miles. And I think you just have to sort of, you know, bring it down to your own level of what you can do, how much you can train, like, and all that. I mean, I think both of us didn't have any experience in super long distance stuff. Like I'd run 100 miler before this, which is a very flat and fast course. And then I finished Cocodona, which took me, you know, 70 hours longer than what that 100 miler did. So, I mean, I think like, again, I think I had some, you know, I'm fine with hiking, you know, I'm fine with like sleep deprivation, a lot of that stuff. So I think just kind of like believing that you can do it. Like I kind of was mentioning before, that there's this Cocodona, it seems like this massive thing for so many people, and it's like really intimidating, but I think you just kind of gotta like, I don't know, just like, yeah, I can do that, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Or like, and I think being inspired by other people too, like seeing her do it and seeing, you know, people like you two like going out and doing like huge stuff, and I'm like, that's really cool, I want to do that, like why not? And
yeah.
that's part of it, and the community around here too, going back to that, like when I started getting more into trail running and made a bunch of friends out here, that seeing what they were doing is a huge inspiration, and training with them and all that, and just made it seem possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. That's a quote from this guy, Dan Pena. I don't know if you've heard Dan Pena. He's crazy. He like does motivational speeches to like executives, but he's like a drill instructor and a motivational speaker mixed together, like Tony Robbins and like a drill instructor. He just like cusses these people out and yells at them and stuff. It's like really kind of disturbing, a lot of it. But anyway, he says, show me your one of the things he says is show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
That's
you know,
cute.
surround yourself with people that
Absolutely.
like that will make you better, and you'll you know slowly get up to their level, and then you know, you're there before you know it. So,
I don't think I'd be doing stuff like this if I didn't live in Flagstaff.
Totally.
I mean, it's like that's absolutely all my friends that I've made, and dating Carrie, you know, has absolutely inspired me, and so
I should have been the answer to that question.
What, the inspiration?
Yeah.
I just said it.
Cool. All right. Well, let's we'll wrap up. We'll get you both out of here.
Cool.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much
awesome.
for coming on. Is there anything you want to promote? I know your work, maybe Wilderness Adventure.
Oh yeah, Wilderness Volunteers.
Yeah.
So I work for a nonprofit called Wilderness Volunteers. Our mission is to get people out doing meaningful volunteer work in public lands all across the country. So we have about 35 nationwide projects each year doing trail maintenance, invasive species removal, restoration work. So they're really fun. You're out there for a week in the wilderness camping with awesome people and giving back to trails and public lands. So that's what I do. Everyone should go to wildernessvolunteers.org and sign up for a project. And we work in really cool places. I mean, we work locally in Oak Creek Canyon and Sedona, and like all across the country. In the Boundary Waters, we have like a backcountry canoeing project, Denali National Park, all across the West, basically, and East Coast, Acadia National Park. Like, we have a project right now going on in Mammoth Cave National Park where they're volunteering in the cave this afternoon. So
okay.
Yeah, really cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Cotulla?
Yeah. So I work at Cotulla. And Dylan's mentioned Cotulla many times and is a believer, I know. So we appreciate that.
I'm your best salesperson.
Yeah, he was. Even the other day at the Global Running event, he was doing some sales for us. So I've been there for like a little over 2 years. But it's a really cool company, doing a lot of good stuff for the planet and the community. And we give back to a lot of the things we believe in. And we also make some pretty awesome products, you know, known for our micro spikes, but we make other winter traction and, you know, gaiters. But I do events and community engagement. So on the marketing side, and spend a lot of time out at events and hanging out at races and stuff and getting to be part of the community. So, and I'm super lucky that it's based in Flagstaff and I've been able to, you know, just further my life here with them. And super appreciative to everybody there.
Cool. And Instagram, both of you? What are your handles? Do you not?
Carrie.jane.outdoors.
Okay.
Mine's just at Ostcorb, AUSTCORB.
Cool. And I'll put them in the description too.
Cool.
So all right, Carrie, awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on, and good luck on whatever is in your future.
Appreciate it. This is awesome.
Thanks.
All right, thanks.